Before we start, there's something I want you to think about first. And we all know that we live in a globalized world, and if I ask you to make a list of things that you think globalization has brought to you, your family, or your community, what would you include? Now, to help you make your list, these are some of the main areas of our daily life. So, you got your list ready? Now, I bet you must be thinking about at least one of these. Is it American Idol, Desperate Housewives, 24, Hollywood movies, iPhone, Google, Starbucks, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, or democracy, liberty? You see, you just made an almost all-American list. Other cultures seem to disappear in your list. You don't seem to remember the Filipinos or Malaysians. So a lot of the time when we're trying to talk about globalization, it's actually Americanization that's on our mind. And so I believe all the controversy surrounding globalization could be roughly resolved to this. What the supporters have in mind is really an ideal, mutual kind of globalization, one that brings benefits like better understanding between nations, cultures. The critics, however, can only think of the current globalization, the one that's really taking place, and it's Americanization, and it's really slanted in terms of power and a transfer of ideas. And I think they are right in a sense that they try to figure out what's really happening. More than half of the world's 7,000 languages in the world are disappearing over this century, and this takes away their own unique culture, their intellectual wisdom, their sometimes even unique medical treatments or medicine. And even if a culture is not going to die soon, they are losing a large part of their distinction. Streets in China is looking more and more alike with those elsewhere. And Canadian kids now say they know a lot more about downtown New York than they know about what's happening in the back alleys of their district. And that's thanks to CSI New York. So it's just natural that people would react strongly to these foreign invasions. The French government announced a ban on words like email and some others, and in government brochures, websites, or other media, and that's to stave off English globalization. And in Tuscany, a city in Italy, the government passed a law ruling out all non-Italian restaurants in their city. So you see no more kebabs, no more fast food. And officials say that is to safeguard their own cultural identity. You want the translation? We feel that globalization is threatening us and we'll do everything to resist it. However, I think these approaches are wrong. For so many years, we try to yell at all sorts of cultural changes, but you see, these are really symptoms. We yell at language changes or fashion products from outside the world, but we should see them as symptoms, and if anything, they reflect how we view ourselves and our own culture. So here is what I propose, a brand new way of looking at globalization. The process at the bottom is what's happening in most countries. Younger generations don't have the same respect, or they don't value their cultures as much as they did before. And under globalization, new ideas simply become available to them, and they immediately turn to American influence as something that gives them jobs, better access to information, and most importantly, a new identity. So it's really this low self-worth that is to blame, not globalization. The upper equation, however, is what should be happening. If we have a community of people who have faith in themselves, their culture could only grow stronger and stronger. And let me end with an example taken from Hebrew. The language is officially declared dead for 16 centuries. But in Israel, younger generations feel that to bring their nation together and their people together, they have to revive their language and their culture. And because they have faith in their own culture and language, that's what they did. Now everyone in Israel speaks Hebrew, including teachers, children, and businessmen. And they've even started using the internet, product from globalization, to spread and promote their own culture. So I think this example has a real strong message for everyone, especially young people. We need to rediscover our own culture. Be creative because you can turn the tables around. And finally, let's just restore globalization to its rightful and helpful place. Thank you.